This is CNN.
This is CNN's Prime News, taking the time to examine world events, issues, and newsmakers, with Bernard Shaw in Washington and Susan Rook in Atlanta.
Thank you for joining us. President Bush is said to be up and about and getting back to business in Tokyo despite a case of stomach flu. Mr. Bush became ill and collapsed at an official dinner, briefly sending shockwaves around the world. For an update, we go to CNN's senior White House correspondent Charles Bierbauer in Tokyo, where it is now 10 o'clock Thursday morning. Good morning, Charles. What's up?
Good morning. Well, the president, as you say, is up. He is resting this morning. He's taken the morning off from his previously, at least, scheduled events, and he's sending out some proxies to sit in on some of the trade sessions over here. White House spokesman Marlin Fitzwater earlier this morning says all this proves is that the president's human. He gets sick.
President Bush got a decent night's sleep last night. He woke at about 6:30 this morning. He's up and about at the Akasaka Palace. He still is suffering from some weakness related to the flu, but the major symptoms have subsided. All of the president's vital signs this morning are normal, as they were last night. There is no indication of any illness other than the common flu.
The president is resting at Akasaka Palace. That's the government guest house for visiting VIPs. He'll spend the morning there. He's not taking any medication, according to President Fitzwater. He did a little last night to calm the nausea. The president, as I've indicated, has curtailed his schedule. Secretary of the Treasury Nicholas Brady and Secretary of Commerce Bob Mosbacher are filling in for him at some events. Mosbacher was at a breakfast meeting today for U.S. and Japanese businessmen.
The president obviously apologizes for not being here, but you'll all be happy to know that he's doing well and will undoubtedly be resuming his schedule later in the day. But right now is taking it easy with something many of us have had, a little bit of intestinal flu from which he's recovering.
President Bush was stricken while at a dinner last night hosted by Prime Minister Kiichi Miyazawa, who was quick to get to the president's side as he slumped to the floor. Bush will resume his talks with Miyazawa here this afternoon, pushing back the meeting only by a few hours, and the two leaders still plan to hold a joint news conference. U.S. officials say there is no connection between this illness and the heart and thyroid problems which President Bush experienced last year. White House officials and the president, for that matter, are joking about this incident. The president said he ran up a bit of a cleaning bill. While the lighthearted approach is meant to be reassuring, it also is a counter in this election year to those grave images of the president slumped to the floor last night. Charles Bierbauer, CNN, live from Tokyo.
Charles, the people who have had stomach flu can certainly be sympathetic. Any word on how long it will take the president to really get up to steam again?
Well, as you say, anyone who's had that kind of a symptom and situation knows you feel pretty groggy for a while. What they've done is simply knock out his morning schedule, and he'll take an abbreviated schedule this afternoon. One thing that he does have to anticipate and perhaps not look forward to is he's got about a 12-hour plane ride back to Washington tomorrow. The president has a very comfortable suite on board Air Force One, so he can probably get some rest there. And he is scheduled to spend the weekend at Camp David up in the Maryland mountains, so he'll have a few days to recover from this bout with the flu here and to rest up after what has been, for all of us, a rather lengthy trip anyhow.
Thank you. CNN's Charles Bierbauer keeping us up to date with the president in Tokyo. Bernie?
Thank you, Susan. The field of Democratic presidential candidates trying to win the White House from Mr. Bush grew smaller tonight. Virginia Governor Douglas Wilder announcing just a few moments ago he is quitting this year's presidential race. Wilder's campaign has faltered. He's had trouble raising money, and he has made few inroads in New Hampshire, the site of the nation's first primary. Governor Wilder bowed out of the race during his State of the State address in Richmond, Virginia. And as with Governor Mario Cuomo of New York, Wilder cited a troubled state budget at home as the reason for his decision not to run.
Long before I announced for president, I said that if it became too difficult for me to govern the Commonwealth and conduct a presidential campaign, I would terminate one endeavor. I was left with a choice, either to devote all my energies to delivering the message or to guiding Virginia through these difficult times. I have chosen the latter as my pledge and responsibilities dictate. Therefore, I stand before you to state that I am hereby withdrawing from the presidential race.
Well, joining us now with their thoughts on Governor Wilder's decision to bow out of the race, CNN's political analysts, Ken Bodie of our special assignment team, and on the left, Jack Germán, columnist for the Baltimore Evening Sun. Bombshell announcement.
Bombshell. What has happened really is he sort of accepted the reality of his situation. And I'm not. It sounds like a Monday morning quarterbacking, but I'm not totally surprised. The fact is that Governor Wilder always had a rather realistic view of his own prospects. He knew the chance of being nominated were very, very slim. So it doesn't surprise me he decided to get out and cut his losses.
Well, also the state Republicans in Richmond would have eaten him alive had he continued.
Well, I think that is true, but he's combative enough. I don't think that is much the reason as the fact that he couldn't raise money, he couldn't make much progress in the polls. It was really a very difficult thing for him.
Ken Bodie.
Also, Bernie, the fact is the recession hit Virginia harder than they ever anticipated it was going to hit Virginia. His message was, we made the tough decisions in Virginia, and without raising taxes, we cut the budget, we cut the staff jobs and so forth, and we made things okay. He realized that they were going to have to raise taxes. He announced tonight in his State of the State speech a package of general obligation bonds he's going to send to the people of Virginia and so forth. The recession is in Virginia, and that was going to make it all the more difficult both to be out of the state and run for president. And it also destroyed his message that he had figured out how to make things right.
The others in the field, jumping for joy, Jesse Jackson crying. Yes or no?
I don't know. I don't think this really relates to Jackson, except in the obvious sense of both being black candidates. The others, it is a great opportunity, Bernie, because it means that some of these white candidates can go in and compete for black votes without being in a position where they have to tiptoe around a black candidate, unless there is another black candidate, which is still possible. Anything can happen this year. I think it's a great opportunity for Clinton, Harkin, and Kerry in the black vote now.
And it's also very good. It's really, in a way, Doug Wilder is a very talented, very smart man who's tailored a message that I think would sell in American politics the way it's sold in Virginia. After all, we never would have said 10 years ago that the first black elected governor in this country would come from Virginia, but it did, and Doug Wilder's a talented politician. Jack's right, he wasn't doing well. But what this means now is that these Democrats go in now and begin to compete for black votes. They don't have to wait till after the convention is over with, as they did the last couple of times with Jesse Jackson. Therefore, it's a real bonus for the Democratic Party.
What does this do with what I conceive to be Doug Wilder's almost copyright on the issue of fiscal conservatism?
Well, there are no true fiscal conservatives other than him in the Democratic field. Paul Tsongas approaches it in his emphasis on business, and a couple of them are in favor of things like capital gains tax reduction. So it is, they are not as liberal, except for Harkin. They are not as liberal a field as the usual field of Democrats.
Just occurred to me. Put yourselves in Ron Brown's shoes, chairman of the Democratic National Committee in the party. Does he feel good about this tonight, to have this field reduced by one?
Well, he's not going to like me saying this, but I think he does feel good about it. And I think the other guy who feels really good about it is Bill Clinton, who I think gets a real opportunity to build a genuine biracial coalition for the nomination, because he has more natural support both amongst blacks and whites in the South for Super Tuesday. He becomes a much stronger candidate as of tonight.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And he has more, not only more allies already built in, he has more connections to the black community, similar to the ones that Jimmy Carter had in 1976, than any of the other candidates.
By his example, does New York Governor Mario Cuomo actually play the role of influencer?
Well, the guy here who you got to look at it really closely for other reasons is Clinton. He's the only governor left in this race who's got a state to run. But what Bill Clinton says is, I've done it for so many years. I've got a great senior staff in place. The state legislature is behind me. They'll take care of the problems back home while I'm gone. Wilder couldn't say that, and obviously Cuomo couldn't say it.
I don't want to be a total cynic, but if Wilder,
go ahead, be a cynic, Jack.
If Wilder had raised $1 million at this point, maybe he wouldn't have found the state's problem so preoccupying. That's a little cruel, but maybe true.
Jack Germán, Ken Bodie, thank you very much. Now quickly to Susan Rook in Atlanta.
Thank you, Bernie. Vice President Dan Quayle was carrying the political gauntlet for President Bush today. The vice president went ahead with a planned campaign trip to New Hampshire, where he told voters the president has got the message of discontent over the economy. The vice president also spent time reassuring the public that President Bush is doing fine.
I just talked to the president, and he is up and about. He is doing great, voice strong. He says, I'll be out in a few hours, carrying on the business. I said, well, what happened? He says, I got the flu.
Mr. Bush's illness raised old questions and concerns about the possibility of Dan Quayle assuming the presidency. His spokesman says there was no talk today of transferring the power to the vice president. Still ahead on Prime News, dramatic Pentagon proposals for cutting the defense budget, a new demonstration in the former Soviet Republic of Georgia, the day after a rally was broken up with bullets. And the winner is, we'll tell you which cars are taking top honors in the auto industry. And tap water. It could hold a hidden danger for your baby.
Look what you did. Let's do it on here.
Prime News is brought to you by Pip Printing for all your business printing needs.
A lot of the ideas that come into Pip Printing look pretty amazing. But thanks to our Look Smart Desktop Publishing, they all go out looking pretty amazing. Desktop Publishing, one more reason Pip Printing's the biggest business printer in the world.
Doctors know there's a flaw in eggs. They're high in cholesterol, and diets high in cholesterol and fat can contribute to heart disease. Fleischmann's Egg Beaters are 99% real egg with 0 cholesterol and 0 fat. Egg Beaters, eggs without the flaw.
This winter, the cost of heating is surprisingly low, thanks to Cream of Wheat, a hot, nutritious breakfast for as little as 10 cents a serving. Cream of Wheat, also available in instant. Turn up the heat for less.
They say diversify to reduce risk, but I'm no financial expert.
I know how to build a house, not a portfolio.
How do you judge each investment? When to buy or sell?
And who has time to follow the market?
Because most people can't be masters at everything, Fidelity Investments created the Fidelity Asset Manager. In one easy mutual fund, it seeks to diversify among and across stocks, bonds, and money markets. And Fidelity professionals carefully watch your investment for you, gradually adjusting your assets to keep pace with changes in the market.
It's designed for those of us who aren't financial experts.
Call now for this free fact kit on the Fidelity Asset Manager.
I called. You should too. There's no pressure to invest. There's no sales charge either. All your money works for you.
Diversification made simple. Call 1-800-654-1500 for your free fact kit. Fidelity Investments. Common sense, uncommon results. Share price, yield, and return will vary.
Tonight, former President Richard Nixon talks about the end of the Cold War, the controversy over JFK, the upcoming presidential race, and more. Richard Nixon tonight on Larry King Live, 9 Eastern on CNN.
The B-2 stealth bomber program is a likely target in secret Pentagon proposals for cutting the defense budget. CNN's military affairs correspondent Wolf Blitzer gives a preview of those plans and the politics behind them.
Defense Secretary Dick Cheney is spending the coming days in London and Bonn, briefing his British and German counterparts on the Pentagon's proposed budget cuts. Pentagon sources say Cheney's still secret recommendations submitted to the White House on January 3rd include significant reductions in several big-ticket strategic weapon systems. Likely cuts, the production run of the B-2 stealth bomber reduced from 75 to perhaps as few as 20, and of the Seawolf attack submarine from 6 to only 2 or 3. In addition, the Pentagon is considering further reductions in various intercontinental nuclear missiles, well beyond the cuts already included in the START Treaty and those subsequently announced by President Bush after the failed Soviet coup in August. Finally, production of proposed new generation tanks, armored vehicles, and other conventional weaponry is also expected to be dramatically scaled back.
The security environment has changed with the dissolution of the Soviet Union and the emergence of democratically inspired, newly independent nations in the former Soviet Union.
The primary threat in the post-Soviet world comes from regional hotspots such as the Persian Gulf. As a result, the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee says coming up with this new budget effectively means starting from scratch.
Putting this thing together without the Soviet Union as the benchmark is really, really different world. I mean, it's been decades since we put together defense budgets without the Soviet Union being the driving force.
Some of the budget cuts will affect U.S. troop strength in Europe, which is already being cut to around 150,000 from the more than 300,000 only 4 years ago. Closing bases overseas is politically attractive, especially during a presidential election year in the United States.
Essentially, the defense budget is like a great big Christmas turkey sitting in the middle of the table, and everyone wants to get a piece of it, Democrats and Republicans alike. So this makes this election year and the defense budget very different from the politics of any other recent election.
Polls show the American public wants to see freed-up defense dollars used to strengthen the domestic economy. But Pentagon officials caution that closing bases, terminating production runs, and reducing troop levels are all expensive propositions. In the short run, they cost quite a lot. The savings, officials say, will come only over the long run. Wolf Blitzer, CNN, the Pentagon.
New evidence today that the collapse of the Soviet Union could lead to a spread of nuclear technology in the Third World. A senior Russian nuclear scientist told the Associated Press that Libya offered well-paying jobs to 2 of his colleagues. Both scientists turned down Libya's offer.
Still ahead on Prime News, we will tell you where to move if you want a good deal on a house. And where did all the donors go? The nation's blood supply just isn't what it used to be.
Some people don't know it, but they're paying too much in taxes. Take these two, identical in many ways. Similar homes, similar income, similar investments. But one could be paying 28% more tax on his savings and investment income. That's over $200 on every $800 earned. The other called Fidelity Investments toll-free and found out how to invest tax-free in this free fact kit on Fidelity tax-free funds. It shows you how to earn income that's 100% free from federal income taxes. And in some states, your income may be free from state and local taxes, too. And there's no sales charge, which means all your money is working for you. So call for your free fact kit on Fidelity Investments tax-free funds. Call right now and you'll also get this bonus booklet, Understanding Tax-Free Investing. See how Fidelity gives you the facts you need to make up your own mind without pressure.
Hello, Fidelity.
Keep more of what you earn. Call 1-800-424-8181 today. Fidelity Investments. Common sense, uncommon results.
How can you tell a raisin nut from an ordinary raisin? Raisin nuts shop in big and tall shops. They are frequently mistaken for dirigibles. And they have a heck of a time hiding behind trees. But the best way to spot a raisin nut is to taste one. Because when you take a fat, juicy raisin and roll it in a nutty coating, it keeps it plumper, makes it extra tasty. The toasted bran flakes and big crunchy almonds help too. For big-time raisin taste, it's Raisin Nut Bran.
I use a shampoo for dandruff, but my scalp still itches like crazy.
You need new Scalpicin, the revolutionary scalp medicine for deep scalp itch, not ordinary dandruff. Scalpicin is not a shampoo. It's a clear liquid you don't wash away like shampoo. Apply Scalpicin anytime for deep scalp itch relief with medicine chosen by doctors over all these dandruff shampoo formulas. Scalpicin penetrates to relieve the itch and help prevent flaking.
The itch is gone.
New Scalpicin, the scalp medicine for deep scalp itch.
A Securities and Exchange Commission study says November's stock market plunge was not caused by a push from the president and Congress to cap credit card interest rates. The SEC is suggesting internal market dynamics and long-term investment outlooks caused that 120-point drop. One of the nation's largest brokerage houses, Paine Webber, has been fined by the New York Stock Exchange for violating rules connected with sale practices between 1984 and '88. Paine Webber agreed to pay the $900,000 fine, but did not admit or deny the allegations.
If you want a good value in a home, the National Association of Home Builders suggests you move to Jackson, Michigan. Every 3 months, the group compares home cost to income. And its latest survey rates Jackson most affordable. The Saginaw Bay City Midland area of Michigan comes in second, Peoria, Illinois, third. San Francisco is rated as the least affordable area. It is followed by the Salinas, Los Angeles, and Oxnard areas of California.
Federal government figures indicate after 2 months of growth, consumer credit stalled in November. It was virtually unchanged and would likely have dropped if consumers had not continued to use their credit cards at the start of the holiday season. Big changes at a pioneering 5 and dime store. Woolworth is planning to close, sell, or reformat about 900 of its specialty and general merchandise stores. It says about 4,700 part-time and 5,300 full-time jobs will be affected. A group that for more than 2 decades has pushed to improve children's television is calling it quits. Action for Children's Television says, while children's programming is still not ideal, federal rules are now in place to help govern it.
The United States is in the middle of a shortage, a blood shortage, and officials say it's one of the worst ever. As CNN's Robert Vito reports, blood banks are putting out urgent calls for help.
This is what the problem is all about. Empty chairs at blood banks. A lack of donors that have left blood supplies in many parts of the country dangerously low.
Elective surgeries are being canceled. Transplant surgeries are not being performed.
Blood bank officials say it is one of the worst shortages ever. The problem is apparent at some hospitals where supplies currently are half of what they used to be.
Hard on the surgery staff because they want to do their operations, and it's hardest on the patients who are expecting to have their surgeries and are having to wait.
It's been a nightmare for Charlotte Shoemake, who has a brain tumor. Her surgery at a Dallas hospital has been delayed because it might require many units of blood that is in short supply.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to live or not. For one thing, I have a mass up here, and until they go in there and operate to see what it is, I don't know how long I've got. I think I'm going to make it, but I'm not sure. You know, I would just like to know.
The drain on the blood supply is blamed on several alarming factors. Many people are unable to donate blood because of a nationwide outbreak of the flu. The recession is a factor. More unemployment means workers are not available for company-sponsored blood drives. And a recent Gallup poll showed that 1 in 5 Americans is not donating blood because they incorrectly believe they can contract AIDS through the donation process. Blood banks nationwide say the shortage is critical and getting worse, and they have no reason to believe the situation will get better anytime soon. Of course, some people are still dedicated to giving blood. Like this man, they have their reasons.
I donate once every 2 months whenever they call me. I just feel it's my duty.
And if more people felt that way, officials of the American Red Cross say blood shortages would quickly be replenished, and the crisis that jeopardizes the lives of some patients would be over. Robert Vito, CNN, San Bernardino, California.
News for Medicine is brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb Company, makers of new day-night contracts. Finally, day and night cold medicines together in one package.
Hey, I thought you were home with a miserable cold.
I was, but now I feel better.
Well, did you take Sudafed for your stuffy nose?
No, I took Comtrax. It does it all.
Chlortrimeton for your sneezing.
I only took Comtrax.
Regular Tylenol for your aches and pains. Benylin DM for your cough.
All I took was Comtrax.
She'd have had to take each of these just to get all the relief that's in 2 Comtrax. Comtrax does it all. Also, look for new non-drowsy Comtrax.
I'm Jane Fonda. Join me on TNT for a personal look at my father, Henry Fonda.
Fonda on Fonda, the life and the career of Henry Fonda, hosted by Jane Fonda. Monday, followed by Henry Fonda in The Grapes of Wrath.
Pip Printing has just what every rapidly expanding business so desperately needs. Someone to handle all the paperwork. Pip Printing. Give us a call. We'll show you why we're the biggest business printer in the world.
Now available on video cassette, Atlanta Braves, the miracle season. Now you can bring home the crucial plays that made the Braves the Cinderella team in the National League. And right now, the miracle season is a steal at only $19.98 per cassette, plus $5 shipping and handling. Don't walk, run to the phone and dial 1-800-257-1257. Or send check or money order to Atlanta Braves 91, the Miracle Season videotape offering. P.O. Box 8250, Atlanta, Georgia 30306. Georgia residents add 6% sales tax.
Tonight on Sports Tonight, NFL coaching news. The Los Angeles Rams get their guy, a guy who proves that you can go home once again. We'll look ahead to the Redskins' playoff chances against the Lions this weekend and have all the college basketball tonight at 11.
Yugoslavia's federal government has named an anti-Croatian hardliner as military chief in an action that could threaten UN peace efforts. The pro-Serbian general replaces the moderate who signed a truce 6 days ago. He quit today. In Zagreb, a memorial was held for 5 European community monitors. They were on board a helicopter shot down by the Federal Air Force. At the United Nations, the Security Council voted to send 50 peacekeeping officers to work to preserve the ceasefire.
Another confrontation in the former Soviet Republic of Georgia. Its ousted former leader, Zviad Gamzagurdia, insists he still is the republic's legal president. And once again, he got support on the streets of Georgia's capital. In Tbilisi, Stefan Kansonis reports.
I love my president! I very love my president!
For a second day in a row, supporters of the deposed President Gamzagurdia held a rally in the capital to call for his return. And to denounce those who overthrew him. But the turnout of about 1,000 was much smaller than the day before. The military council, now in control of the capital, had banned the rally. But they did not send their gunmen out to break up the gathering. They said they didn't like it, but there would be no repeat of the violence of the day before.
Of course we want them to behave differently, but we overthrew a dictatorship. They are allowed their opinions. We won't suppress them anymore.
Across the border in Armenia, the deposed president swore he would continue to fight those who overthrew him. He said he is still the constitutionally elected head of state and would mobilize world opinion against the men who now control Tbilisi, men he calls terrorists and mafiosi. But while the president's supporters rallied, many others went downtown to marvel at the destruction, to see what the powerful weapons of war did to their city's monuments. The cleanup began, but it has barely begun. Those who like the new order dismiss Gamzagurdia's supporters. They say 70 years of dictatorship have made these people gullible.
Well, I want to tell you that their mind is very much damaged. They still don't understand. They still don't understand what kind of man was Gamzagurdia.
Others say only a fanatical fringe support Gamzagurdia, and they say he has so many loyal women followers, not because he's a Democrat, but because of his good looks. Back at the demonstration, people say they know exactly what they like about their man, and it isn't his looks.
Don't think that we're fanatics, that we're only for Zviad. No, we're for the Constitution and a constitutional resolution of the question.
Some of the demonstrators say Gamzagurdia had his faults, but should have been allowed to serve out his term.
The people elected him. The people have to remove him through elections.
People here, mostly middle-aged, mostly women, are deeply suspicious. All they know is they got their election, they got their president, they got a constitution. They say they don't want anybody tampering with that. But it's still hard to tell if most Georgians agree with them. Stefan Katsonis, CNN, Tbilisi.
Still ahead on Prime News, critics name their top U.S. car picks for 92. Dealers keep their fingers crossed, hoping the publicity will help rev up a slow market.
Prime News continues, followed by Larry King Live after this local commercial break. Next on CNN.
After dating the guy forever, you think I could tell him anything. Why is this so hard? I'm really scared.
It takes a lot of guts to tell someone he's too drunk to drive. But you can do it. Just say it. Because if you don't, there may be nothing left to say.
Kevin, I'm gonna drive.
Take the keys, call a cab, take a stand. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
Everyone has a dream.
I don't always get an investing idea between 9 and 5. So when it clicks, I do my homework. And I call Charles Schwab. I can call Schwab at any hour for quotes, news, earnings. And when I buy or sell, I get commission savings too.
For free information about Schwab services, call toll-free 800-257-1257.
This is CNN.
Lead dangers for babies fed powdered or reconstituted baby formulas. rescuing Florida's panthers from the brink of extinction, and a crisis in Russia's historic window on the Western world, St. Petersburg. Those stories ahead in the second half hour of Prime News, but first, if you're in the market for a new car, industry experts have named their top picks. CNN's Ed Garston has details.
For the auto industry, it's the closest thing to Oscar, Tony, or Emmy.
The STS puts Cadillac back on the map among the finest automakers, not just in America, but worldwide.
The Golden Caliper, won by the Cadillac Seville STS this year, is one of the most coveted awards a car can capture.
Consumers are so thirsty to get information about what is a good car to buy or not, that awards such as Motor Trend's Car of the Year is extremely important to getting the word out that it is a good vehicle. And there's no question that giving an award to a car like this one is going to help its sales.
Motor Trend's editor says contending cars are put through a week of rigorous screening by 8 staff members.
What we're looking for is the one standout car in its class each year. So it could be a big car, it could be a small car.
Dick Rusin has designed 5 Car of the Year winners, including this year's the Cadillac Seville STS, which he says was designed with suggestions from past owners.
One of the things that they said was that they wanted the car to be distinctive. So that, for us, was a very strong goal.
But not every trade magazine or group plays Rate or Ride the same way. Car and Driver lists its 10 best cars, but in no particular order. Cars which include the Nissan 300ZX Turbo, the Plymouth Laser Turbo, Lexus SC400, and the Ford Taurus Show.
The first criteria is excellence, pure and simple. The second criteria is that the car not cost more than $40,000. The third criteria is that it has to light your fire in one way or the other.
Cars that strike a match for the Auto Club of America come under slightly more practical scrutiny.
We test the vehicles what an average consumer would be looking for in a car. Rather than taking a vehicle typically on a test track and rating it on high speed and handling and acceleration and braking, we basically check also the vehicle, how it's finished, how it's laid out inside, the comfort level, how easy is it to load the trunk area.
And because the awards can mean rewards on the sales floor, there's always the feeling that car companies have strong lobbying efforts to win. Well, not exactly.
The lobbying takes place in the form of the car companies making sure that the cars that get tested for whatever award they're going up for are absolutely perfect.
And in a town whose products have been tagged as losers as compared to the Japanese, these awards are a chance to put itself on a pedestal and come out a winner. Ed Garston, CNN, Detroit.
Apparently, most people infected with the AIDS virus do not tell their former sex and drug partners. That's the conclusion of a new study appearing in the New England Journal of Medicine. Researchers found only 7% of patients informed their former partners. One explanation was that infected patients simply don't know the names of casual sex partners and can't get in touch with them. Well, parents who feed their babies powdered or concentrated infant formula may inadvertently be feeding their children poisonous lead. CNN's registered dietitian Carolyn O'Neill explains how doctors discovered the problem.
Cassie Parkos is almost 2 and appears to be just fine.
That's right. Good.
But when she was 9 months old, a blood test revealed that she was poisoned with lead. 10 micrograms per deciliter is the recommended safe level. Cassie's blood contained 3 times that.
It was shocking. It was devastating. It was just unbelievable.
Nikki Parkos had the house paint and dust tested, no lead problem there. Then they tested the water. The federal standard for lead says drinking water should contain no more than 15 parts per billion.
And ours was 400.
And that lead-filled tap water was used to mix every bottle of Cassie's infant formula. Dr. Michael Shannon, toxicologist for the lead clinic at Boston's Children's Hospital, investigated 10 similar cases.
These 10 cases we had, I think, in that sense, were absolutely tragic, in that this is what the children were given with every meal, every day for the first 6 to 12 months of their life, was lead-contaminated formula. And it's such a tragedy.
A letter from Dr. Shannon in the New England Journal of Medicine reports 3 practices that may increase the lead levels in reconstituted infant formulas. First, parents careful to follow label directions to boil water before mixing formula may be exposing their babies to too much lead if they boil the water longer than the recommended 5 minutes.
Another thing the families had in common is that they mixed their baby formula in the morning. And researchers found that morning tap water has the highest lead levels of the day.
So doctors say let this first draw of water run for at least 2 minutes. Also note that hot tap water contains more lead than cold. And if you're going to boil water, make sure the kettle is lead-free. 2 of the children's hospital cases involved imported or antique kettles.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The Parkos have moved to a new house now where the water is lead-free, but they're not worry-free yet.
We don't really know until she's about 5 and starting school, and they can see if there's any learning problems at that point.
Carolyn O'Neill, CNN.
Still ahead on Prime News, stalking panthers in an effort to save them.
Something's waiting inside the powerful 486SX computer. A technology that will make it even more powerful. We call it Room for the Future. Introducing built-in upgradability. Check into it. From Intel, the computer inside.
Around 1900, GMC Truck built America's first gasoline-powered truck and went on to make trucks our only business. A heritage of trucks that, some say, worked a little harder, lasted a little longer. And that's still true today in a truck that gives you the most standard payload and the strongest resale of any full-size pickup. Sierra, from GMC Truck, more proof of the strength of experience.
What happens when you buy Purina Biscuits brand dog snacks? You get a coupon worth $1.50 off any Purina dog food. Here's how it works. Buy Purina Biscuits, get $1.50 off. Purina Biscuits, $1.50 off.
Purina Biscuits, $1.50 off. Purina Biscuits, $1.50 off. Purina Biscuits, $1.50 off. Purina.
Remember, with Purina Biscuits, you'll never have to pay full price for Purina dog food again.
Nice dog!
Good morning.
Are you tired of morning news shows that give you everything but the news?
Big events happening overseas, but first...
Is your pet psychic? We'll find out.
Wake up to headline news for the latest news, business, and sports around the clock.
"21 workers were hurt today, 1 seriously, at a fire at a chicken processing plant in Texas. Fire happened in a frying unit at a Pilgrim's Pride facility in Mount Pleasant, about 100 miles northeast of Dallas. Officials say a hydraulic hose came loose, sparking the blaze. 1 woman was seriously burned. She was taken to a burn unit at a Dallas hospital. 3 other employees also are hospitalized.
And U.S. Labor Secretary Lynn Martin is threatening action against North Carolina for a similar poultry plant fire that killed 25 people. Following that fire, federal officials criticized the state, saying the plant had never been inspected in its 9-year existence. Today, the Labor Department says it will take over North Carolina's worker safety enforcement powers if the state does not fix the problems.
In Earth Matters, the U.S. government plans to restart a reactor at the Savannah River nuclear power plant in South Carolina, despite a leak last month. For 4 days, water containing radioactive tritium seeped into the river from the K reactor. The reactor, which is shut down for renovation, is the nation's only source of tritium for nuclear bombs. Today, Energy Secretary James Watkins pledged better detection of leaks.
Recently, federal wildlife officials proposed a drastic step to save rare Florida panthers inside Everglades National Park and a neighboring preserve. They want to capture and breed the cats in captivity. But current efforts to save the panthers from extinction may be too late. CNN's John Zarella.
The land the big cat roamed used to be nearly endless, measuring in thousands of miles. Now it's measured in hundreds. Down below, in what remains of southwest Florida's wilderness, the brown cat with the curled, black-tipped tail slinks through the underbrush. The steady beep, monitored from the air by Fish and Game officers, comes from a transmitter around a Florida panther's neck.
I think she's a good ways to the west.
On the ground, wildlife biologists, veterinarians, and trackers close in as the signal gets stronger. The dogs off in the distance have the scent as well.
And she's in a big tree. You think she'll come right down?
The dogs have done their job. They're 45 feet up, a Florida panther. Call her number 19. She is one of a handful wearing a collar and transmitter. And she and the rest of her species are on the brink of extinction.
30 to 50 individuals is really the bottom line, and what we're doing is trying to hang on to everything we possibly can, and you've got to have hope, or we'd all just give up and go home.
The state's ongoing Panther Project keeps track of each cat's size, weight, health, and territory, closely monitoring the panthers in hopes the species can be saved. Getting number 19 down without injury is the challenge.
We're using ketamine on this cat. She's pretty high, and I don't want her to become real relaxed.
A dart gun loaded with tranquilizer is used. None too pleased, number 19 pulls the dart out, but the potion has begun working. After one wildlife officer climbs the tree and attaches a harness around the cat, she is lowered to the ground. For more than an hour, the team works. Blood samples are drawn.
Drawing blood at 17.
Hair samples and teeth imprints are taken. Number 19 is pregnant. She's already given birth once. Fear is that her father may be the father of her latest cub. But inbreeding is only one of the problems facing the panther.
The reason the panther has a problem today, the reason there's so few animals, is because we continue to lose habitat due to development, agricultural expansion, and just general fragmentation of their once continuous forest.
As with most animals, man is the panther's greatest enemy. Take a good look at number 19. These could be among the last pictures taken of a Florida panther living in nature. John Zarella, CNN, Miami.
Still ahead on Prime News, the Los Angeles Rams get a new coach and an old coach. Stay with us, we'll explain.
We're looking at almost...
In today's business world, it's not uncommon to shell out a significant investment only to come up empty, or to find out your chances weren't as good as they once seemed. Well, for a limited time, Fortune magazine is going to give you a free shot at success. No tricks. Just call this toll-free number right now and you'll get the latest issue of Fortune magazine free. That means a free look at the most insightful, in-depth, and in-step business publication of our time. A free look at the hottest trends, the biggest success stories, and the people who make it all happen. If Fortune isn't for you, simply cancel and pay nothing. The free issue is yours to keep with no further obligation. But if you like what you see, you will save over 50% off the newsstand price on your special trial subscription. That's 14 more issues, 15 in all. Issues like the celebrated Fortune 500 and Fortune's annual ranking of America's most admired companies. All for 3 monthly payments of only $9.77. Call now, and with your paid subscription, you'll also get Fortune's brand new Guide to Successful Investing, absolutely free. It's packed with everything you need to know about investing in the 90s. From tips on how to save money safely to advice on stocks you should avoid. How to save on taxes and win big with mutual funds. You'll learn how to plan for your future and how to grow old without growing poor. Solid investing advice for today's market and time-tested secrets from the pros. Call now for a free look at Fortune magazine. You'll enjoy over 50% savings on your trial subscription. You'll get Fortune's Guide to Successful Investing free. And even if you decide Fortune isn't for you, you'll get to keep your free issue. You just can't lose. It's a free trial issue, over 50% savings, and the new Guide to Successful Investing free. So call right now and take a free shot at success.
Russian President Boris Yeltsin wanted to hear what people thought of his price reforms, and today he got an earful. Frustrated shoppers confronted him about the long lines and short supplies. One man reportedly shouted, "If you fail to bring prices down, I shall shoot dead all tradesmen." Prices have risen dramatically since January 2nd when state price controls were lifted.
The Russian city of St. Petersburg was created in 1703 as a window into Europe, long viewed as progressive and culturally vibrant. But as with the rest of Russia, it suffers economically. CNN's Christiane Amanpour now reports on a plan using the city's proud past to boost its current problems.
This city knows all about hunger. An eternal flame burns beside the mass graves of those who died of starvation during the Nazis' 900-day siege of Leningrad in World War II. The young come to pay their respects. Those old enough to remember are afraid.
I think it will be really bad. Can you imagine potatoes being 3 times more expensive? Even if we eat only bread and potatoes, we can hardly make ends meet.
Outside the metro stations and at the markets, St. Petersburg's new paupers are selling off their own belongings, clothes, trinkets, and even a toilet seat, trying to raise a few extra rubles. City officials admit they won't make it through the winter or even the next 30 days without help.
We have only half the food supplies we need for the coming month. We're expecting aid from abroad, and we're very thankful for whatever we get.
Handouts, large and small, are being delivered to the hardest hit, to an old woman who must support herself and her invalid son. She's pathetically grateful for this gift from Germany. She says it'll last her all winter. In the stores, the prices are high and there's not much to buy. Outside, the lines last well after dark.
I spend my whole day working hard, and I come here and there is nothing. I've been to 3 stores already. It's intolerable.
City officials want to turn St. Petersburg into a mecca for culture and tourism. They are giving her beautiful old face a lift, setting up joint ventures, about 500 so far, trying to sell off state stores, restaurants and factories to private investors, and trying to change the work ethic. But even under the best of circumstances, officials say it'll take at least 10 to 15 years before stability and real economic growth take hold. Christiane Amanpour, CNN, St. Petersburg.
And his first name is Fred, last name Hickman. He joins us now with sports. Fred?
Here, present. Thank you, Bernie. There is one less bell to answer in the NFL tonight. The Los Angeles Rams have hired Chuck Knox to be their head coach. Knox, who resigned his post in Seattle, replaces John Robinson, fired at the end of the regular season. Now it's Knox's second tour of duty with the Rams, and he's confident it will be at least as successful as the first, and hopeful it will be better.
This is the only place that I interviewed, and it was really the only job that I wanted.
And why? Why here?
Well, because I liked the area, and I felt after talking with the people here, with Georgia, that there was a commitment here to want to win, to want to get the job done. The stipulation was that we will actively pursue and participate in the 5 areas that I mentioned earlier as far as the acquisition of talent is concerned. And that's the draft, trades, Plan B, the waiver wire, and free agents. And we didn't discuss anything about how much money was going to be spent, but we did say that we would be competitive in there. I had that commitment.
Aren't we surprised he said it was the only job he wanted? What's he going to say? Gee, I wish I had that Green Bay job. Anyway, as you probably heard, Tom Seaver and Rollie Fingers were elected to baseball's Hall of Fame last evening. But we want to speak now of Seaver, who scored a record 98% of the ballots cast. Seaver, one of the members of the Elite 300 Victory Club in baseball, was choked with emotion as he spoke of the honor today.
One of the things that will happen is that my children will be able to take their children to the Hall of Fame and say, there's your grandfather. And in his day, he was pretty good at what he did. And that's a very special, that's a very special thing for me.
Now some more baseball news to warm up this winter's eve. Nice and cozy in Los Angeles, where the Dodgers can't wait for springtime. In fact, they are into winter workouts, getting that Ferrari outfield all fired up and ready. Strawberry, Butler, and the new kid, Eric Davis, fresh in from the Reds.
Got to be number one, no question about it. You know, myself, Butler, and Davis in the outfield, you won't see too much drop out there. And plus the kind of offensive numbers that we put up each year, I think you won't see too many clubs that have outfielders that put the type of numbers we're going to put up.
Feels good. I've been waiting for this for a long time. Now it's here.
Well, as Uncle Bob used to say, that's the way I heard it. Never did like him much. Anyway, Nick Charles and I are back at 11 Eastern Time with the rest of the drill. We will look at the Washington Redskins, a team preparing to try to stick the league's top offense right into the Lions' mouths. We've got all the NBA, the birdless, McHale-less Celtics have a snootful with the Knicks in the house. Lots of college hoops and a play of the day you will not believe. Trust me, we do all the work. All you got to do is watch. Such a deal. Right now, let's move over to Karen McGinnis, who's got the weather. Denver, can you dig it?
They are, as a matter of fact, underneath 14 inches of snowfall. And the same weather system that moved in across the Central Rockies moved across the Midwest and is now plowing across the Great Lakes, bringing with it some gusty winds, some freezing rain, making for treacherous driving conditions across south central Michigan. They're experiencing dangerous weather conditions. This is all part of a massive weather system. The same system that produced the 14 inches of snowfall in Denver produced 7 inches at Grand Forks, 6 inches at Fargo, North Dakota. And right now, some gusty winds as well as snowfall in Sioux City, Iowa, also Minneapolis, and Houghton, Michigan is picking up some precipitation as well. Some gusty winds across Southern California, and as a matter of fact, a wind advisory out for the Southern California mountains, where in the lower Colorado River Valley, the winds could gust between 20 and 30 miles per hour. There's high pressure which is building across the Great Basin, and there's a suspicious area of low pressure which is developing across Mexico. That bears watching over the next several days, and it may be the rain producer that they do not need across Texas and Louisiana. Daytime high temperatures, Los Angeles, Santa Ana in effect, so it's breezy. It feels cooler than it is outside. 69 degrees, cloudy skies and 48 for Seattle. If you're traveling to Salt Lake, 34 degrees, and they got walloped with about 6 inches of snowfall. Miami, close to 80 degrees. Chicago, cloudy skies and 34. If you are traveling to the tropics, St. Thomas, St. Croix, San Juan, all partly cloudy, temperatures in the 80s. Fair skies for Hilo and 82. Rather windy for Juneau and 44. As a matter of fact, there's wind gusts up around 50 miles an hour. Quick look at the forecast map. Eastern seaboard, you'll see most of that precipitation and could be some early morning dense fog in the Great Basin. Now these forecasts. CNN's Prime News continues now with Susan Rook.
Karen, thanks. When Prime News returns, the words out and easy to read. A new type of eyeglasses clears up a hazy problem when it comes to reading.
I grew up thinking soup was good for me. Who didn't? Now it turns out soup could be even better. Healthy Choice has given me a soup that I love. This new soup has big chunks of meat and vegetables, only it's low in fat, cholesterol, and lower in sodium than the soup I grew up with. And you know what's amazing? It tastes just great. Now why wouldn't you try that? With Healthy Choice, the choice is yours.
There was a time when aerodynamic design and agile handling would have been unheard of in a car this roomy. A time when a V8 that's more powerful and more efficient would have been simply inconceivable. But that was then, and this is now. The new Ford Crown Victoria. Have you ever wished the traditional could become the exceptional? Have you driven a Ford lately?
Dan Larson knows a secluded course where the holes are challenging, but the fees aren't. Now, where do you suppose he'd rent a car? Budget, where every rental passes 25 quality checks and price is not a handicap. The smart money is on Budget. Now at Budget, get an economy car with unlimited mileage for just $99 a week, $24.99 each additional day. The smart money is on Budget.
Tonight on Sports Tonight, NFL coaching news. The Los Angeles Rams get their guy, a guy who proves that you can go home once again. We'll look ahead to the Redskins' playoff chances against the Lions this weekend and have all the college basketball tonight at 11.
There's a new lens on the market that can reportedly clear up eye problems for many elderly patients. CNN's Jeannie Mose takes a look.
81-year-old Dorothy Donovan may look like she's trying to climb into the pages of People, But even an old issue would excite you, too, if you hadn't been able to read for a year because of deteriorating eyesight. Last month, Dorothy's eye doctor gave her glasses like this.
And to me, it was a gift, the best gift one could have.
When you wear the new glasses, you tend to look more interested in smell than sight. Young or old, you have to hold whatever you're reading close. To the layman, the glasses seem like magnifying glasses.
It's a super quality type of magnifier, yes.
Dr. Bruce Rosenthal and other low-vision experts who have tested the new lens system say it could help millions of people with various vision problems who can't read regular print, be they young or old. What do the new glasses have that old devices don't?
The key value to these is the flat surface, similar to the way the televisions now have flat surfaces given a larger edge-to-edge clarity.
The meaning of edge-to-edge clarity becomes clear when you see the way the old so-called microscopic lenses work. You can only read a few letters or a word at a time, but with the new lenses, you get edge-to-edge clarity. You see more, and seeing is believing. Oh, wow, yeah.
Now, you see the significant difference in size?
Yes, I do.
The significant difference in area?
Right.
All right, now put these other ones on.
Oh, this is great. Now I get it.
All right.
And you can now get them from low-vision specialists, but they'll cost at least several $100s. Dorothy used to have to hold a magnifying glass in one hand and a flashlight in the other, and eventually even that didn't work. She needed help with even the simplest things.
You lost your privacy having somebody read your mail, write checks.
The new lenses are for reading, not walking around, and you do have to be taught to use the glasses. Only one eye is fitted with the special lens because reading material must be brought so close, too close for both eyes to focus on. And don't expect a speed read.
Let me get my place now. I'll start a new paragraph.
Sure,
right?
anywhere at all.
Not surprisingly.
To those who can't imagine living without reading, this is a sight for sore eyes. Ginny Moe, CNN, New York.
That concludes Prime News. I'm Bernard Shaw in Washington.
We'll see you again in 1 hour. I'm Susan Rook at CNN Center in Atlanta. Larry King Live is coming up next. His guest, Richard Nixon. Stay tuned.